Our strategy of inclusive growth has sought to blunt the edge of such disparities. This is the third lesson I draw from looking at the big picture. Ladies and gentlemen, let me now examine the big picture with respect to national security and international affairs. The media, quite understandably, report on events as they occur. Any lapse on the part of security forces and the intelligence and law and order machinery comes in for understandable criticism. We have been victims of premeditated acts of terror, and each time terrorists attack us, there is widespread anger and despair. In considering the big picture, I urge you to keep two things in mind. One, a terrorist has to succeed only once to cause pain to the innocent people, while the security forces have to succeed every minute of every day to prevent such terror attacks. By this yardstick, we must appreciate the dedication and commitment of our security forces and intelligence agencies in preventing many more attacks. More importantly, I have always viewed the challenge of terrorism in India as one of preventing the ideologues of terrorism from creating divisions among the people of our great country and putting one Indian against another. The objective of a terror attack is not just to kill innocent people. It is not just to create fear, but in fact to cause hate. It is to use such killing to create mutual distrust between people of different faiths, creating communal tension, communal conflict, and communal divisions in India is the ultimate objective of terrorism. Every time the people of our country respond to terror attacks as one people, as Indians, and not as Hindus or Muslims or Sikhs or Christians, we defeat the forces of terrorism. We challenge the ideology that feeds terrorism. If we only look at the number of terror attacks on India in quantitative terms, we may feel despondent. However, if we consider the fact that over the past decade, such acts of terrorism have failed to generate communal conflict, we feel more hopeful. Terrorism is being defeated in the minds of our people because they are refusing to respond to such attacks in the manner in which the ideologues of terror want them to. This is the fourth lesson I draw from the big picture view of contemporary India. Finally, ladies and gentlemen, look at India and the world. I entered the world of politics in the midst of a crisis in 1991. India was confronted by two challenges on the external front. Most of you will only recall the external payments crisis of 1991. But this payments crisis occurred against the backdrop of an even bigger challenge, the breakdown of the global bipolar order. As finance minister in 1991, I had to worry not only about reducing the fiscal deficit and reviving economic growth, but also about stabilizing the rupee and ensuring access to adequate foreign exchange. The latter challenge was rendered particularly acute on account of the shifts in global power balances as a result of developments in the former Soviet Union and Eastern Europe. Under the leadership of Prime Minister Narasimha Rao, we took momentous decisions both with respect to our economic policies and with respect to our foreign policy. Prime Minister Narasimha Rao launched what has come to be known as India's Look East policy, linking India to the new growth engines of Asia. We liberalized our trade and investment rules to help us reintegrate with the global economy. In doing this, we were inspired by the experience of many East and Southeast Asian countries. Since then, we have faced multiple challenges on the external front. But whether it is dealing with sharp escalations in food and energy prices, or the Asian financial crisis in 1997-98, and the transatlantic financial crisis in 2008-9, or the rise of China as a global mega trader and changing power balances in the global and regional trading regimes, we have managed to protect India's core economic and foreign policy interests. In facing these challenges, special mention must be made of Indian professionals and entrepreneurs who have made a mark for themselves around the world. Brand India is slowly but surely coming to be recognized all over the world. Millions of Indian professionals, skilled workers, and entrepreneurs are today welcomed around the world. This ability to deal with the challenges of globalization and build new bridges with a range of countries has helped India emerge as a global player. But in the past few months, Indian business leaders have been worried. I understand their anxieties about our red tape, our tax laws and administration, our regulations and procedures. I have often found it tough to deal with these challenges because of a lack of political consensus on the reforms we need to bring in. Yet, I must say, despite all these problems, Indian business and enterprise has demonstrated its ability to cope with competition. The widening global footprint of Indian professionals and entrepreneurs is therefore altering the priorities of our foreign policy. In 1991, I had said that the emergence of India as an economic powerhouse was an idea whose time had come. Over these past 2 decades, this idea has shaped our relations with the world, with all major powers, with our Asian neighbors, and across the Indian subcontinent. This is the 5th lesson I draw from the big picture. Ladies and gentlemen, as I said to our heads of missions from around the world at their annual conference last month, our foreign policy is defined by our developmental priorities. The single most important objective of Indian foreign policy has to be to create a global environment conducive to the well-being of the people of India. I believe the experience of the past 2 decades tells us that greater integration with the world economy is benefiting India and enabling our people to realize their creative potential. The world wants India to do well. Even as we strengthen our relations with all the major powers, we are doing more to become an active member of the emerging Asian economic community. India's voice is heard with respect in all important international forums. Ladies and gentlemen, even as you pay attention to the problems of the here and now, which is the duty of the media, as indeed of us in government. I urge you not to lose sight of the big picture. India is on the move. Indians are on the move. As India rises, there are challenges to deal with. Our real challenges are at home, and ups and downs are part of life. We all know that, but we have never allowed ourselves to be overwhelmed by twists and turns in our lives. We have never allowed these challenges to weaken our faith in ourselves, in our democracy, in the principles that define our democracy, and in India's destiny. This unyielding spirit of the Indian people is what we must celebrate at all times. Governments come and governments go. We are all birds of passage, actors on different stages. But this great nation of ours is one of the oldest civilizations known to humanity and the birthplace of some of the world's greatest religions and wisest philosophies. This ancient land of ours has witnessed the flowering of the human spirit time again and again. India will continue to rise, and in doing so will help everyone rise. This is the big picture as I see it. For the short period we mortals occupy the places we do, let us strive to do our best for India, for the world, for humanity. I thank you.